All right, I call to order this meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission of the City of Brisbane on September 13 at 6:30. Roll call.
Oligoff here. Jimenez here.
Fryer here. Let the record reflect that we do not have a quorum this evening. So as we do not have a quorum, we cannot address most items on our agenda tonight. I wanted to start out, however, by reading a statement, which is a letter to the school board. In a small town such as ours, it is often the case that community members wear several hats. And this is true with our schools and our Park and Recreation Commission, where two community leaders hold positions of responsibilities in both. This evening, both the school board and the Parks and Recreation Commission meet, and both have items on the agenda pertaining to the city's after-school program. This program provides inexpensive after-school care for children of working parents. It is at its maximum capacity, and parents have expressed their concerns over accessibility, staffing, and programmed activities. 2 weeks ago, we held a subcommittee meeting with the community to hear these concerns. Parks and Rec staff attended, as well as the mayor, a school board member. It gave us helpful insight into the community's expectations and the limitations of what this program can safely deliver. From this meeting, we identified a number of steps that can be taken to improve the quality of this program. And one of these steps is on our agenda this evening. However, due to the change in the schedule of the school board meeting, we find ourselves without a quorum. We are unable to act on tonight's agenda. During the subcommittee meeting 2 weeks ago, the assertion was made that the Parks and Rec Commission was, quote, all talk and no action, unquote. Whether this was a reflection of the general opinion in the room or just a mean-spirited quip from one individual, it is both uninformed and untrue. I know that we as commissioners take our responsibilities seriously. We are attentive to community input and are always looking for ways to improve on the many fine programs that the Park and Recreation Department offers to our community. I think it is fair to say that the safety, education, and enrichment of the young students of our community is a goal shared by commissioners, city staff, school board, parents, and teachers alike. But we will fail them if we don't work better together by recognizing both the potential and the limitations of programs and facilities, identifying and learning from mistakes, and listening with respect for our common goals. We will better serve the children in our schools. Tonight's meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission is time lost. While I know it was unintended, I believe it was a mistake to schedule the school board meeting opposite this meeting. I hope we can avoid this in the future. Respectfully, Kevin Fryer, Chair, Parks and Rec Commission. While we are not operating with a quorum, we can take citizens' communication. We can't act on it, but we can certainly listen to it and welcome any comments you might have if you'd like to do that now.
Well, I was just at the meeting a couple of weeks ago with, I think it was a relatively productive meeting.
Yeah. And
I am here just to see, I guess, where things, how much progress has been made since then. I know that there was talk related to increasing the hourly wages for the workers. We can get actually people to apply, things like that. So I wanted to see where things were. It's fine. So, but has anything been made? Any progress been made since then?
So I can report on that. So the city council at their last meeting on Thursday night did increase the rate for the recreation leader to $15 an hour. We posted that as soon as we could on Monday. So that is up and available. We sent out emails to the schools. We sent out emails to the parents letting them know through the school, through their Thursday packet, letting everybody know who we can think of that is now reposted and that it is at $15 an hour.
Great. Yeah, so that's a good first step.
And also the other thing we've done is we've contacted the school about using additional space within the school.
Oh, okay. So is there? I'm sorry, I'm out of the loop. So there's a school board meeting tonight?
Yes.
And it's why we're missing two commissioners, and it's why we don't have a quorum.
And is you know if one of the agenda items is to discuss
Yes.
use of the
Yes,
school
it is
for
on there.
recreation?
Well, I don't know what exactly is to discuss the after-school program. I was not told specifically what it was about.
Okay, it's just like I have to be at 2 meetings tonight. Okay, it seems like.
Right, and just so you know, it's at Panorama tonight.
It's a panorama. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what time it started?
Yes, 6 o'clock. They are going through the retirements of their people at 6. I was just
get there
watching it,
for the-
and they were still retiring people out.
Okay. All right. Well, so I'm just representing the concerned parents, and we'll be involved and see how you guys are progressing. But I think steps have already been made, and
Well, thanks for coming down and talking to us, and thanks for coming to the other meeting as well.
yeah. No, I thought that was one of the most constructive meetings I've been to. So
Thank you.
yeah, good spirited. Hey, thank you.
Thank you.
It might be helpful if you state your name for
I
the
shall,
record and
yes.
all of that sort of stuff.
I'm Elna Miller, and I am a parent of twins who are currently in their 3rd year at BES. They're in 2nd grade, and they've been participating in the after-school program ever since they started in kindergarten. So I'm quite familiar with it, as are my children, and I wasn't able to make the last meeting because my schedule didn't permit, so I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here tonight. I do want to say a few things that you've probably already heard, but just adding another voice to the chorus on some of the most common pieces of feedback and suggestions as well. So in terms of, the challenges that I have with the program, there's sort of 3 main ones, and then I wanted to make a comment about the new schedule options. So the first is generally lack of choice and leading to boredom. So having one activity for everybody at the same time, and also doing that activity for too long, to where it's like, okay, an hour and a half, it's for a kid of 7 is like 5 hours for an adult. So that continues to me to be the biggest issue with the programming, is that there's just they can't generally have not been able to choose between activities. And I have seen that they've been working on that, but I think that the changes that they've made tend to be a little bit unstable. So they'll do it for a while, and then they'll go back to the kind of the old habits. So like when they've started the school year with some different activities, and it'll be interesting to see if that continues, or if they start falling back onto the previous thing of, okay, we'll just have everyone play dodgeball for 2 hours. So keeping that choice, top of mind is, I think, really going to be really important. And also, a couple people have noted comments about lack of staff engagement. So just in terms of being a supervisor, but not really interacting with the kids in the activity. So kind of standing off to the side and kind of talking with each other, and that, of course, diminishes the quality of the activity, because the kids, when they're interacting with the leader, they're going to be more excited and having more fun. So I think that's something that needs to be worked on in terms of training or working with the staff to kind of let them know that they do need to be actively involved and not just kind of watching, at least especially when there's organized activities. And I think one of the staff people that was the most engaged has left. So, and then there's some new people, and I don't really have a sense of what they're doing. And the third big thing for me is the lack of integration with other programs in the community. So, and of course, the biggest one is BDW. And there's, a good number of kids who go to BDW at the same time on the same days. And to me, it would be a huge value add if there was a group that could branch off and go with us, either supervised walk over to the community center to go to their class, maybe go to the library, or do that and then bring them back to rec after that class is over. To me, that would be because I'm struggling as a working parent sometimes to figure out, okay, who's going to pick them up from rec, take them to BDW, and then what do we do after BDW when I'm still working? And I'm fortunate that I have family support for that, but a lot of working parents don't have that option, and so they can't participate in things like BDW, which I think is a really great community asset, and as many kids as possible should be able to participate in that and not be constrained because their parents happen to be working and don't have the ability to transport them back and forth. So that to me is, it should be an easy thing. You know, if you have enough staff that where you can take the kids, you know, a group of kids over on those days where there's, you know, a certain minimum number of them. And then the last thing is regarding the scheduling options that were recently released. So right now they have the option of full-time Monday through Friday, where they can do Tuesday and Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. If your schedule is 2 days, if you need the program 2 days a week, let's say, but it's not Tuesday or Thursday, then you have to do either Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or you have to do the full 5 days. So for example, if I need my kids there Thursday and Friday, and I've got them off doing other things Monday through Wednesday, I'm using the service 2 days a week, but I have to pay for 5 days a week. So that doesn't work for me, and I think you really need to think about, especially removing the drop-ins. Like, there's also no drop-ins now, so I'm assuming those are going to be coming back after the staffing levels are back up. But you know, the lack of drop-ins plus the lack of the ability to a la carte pick your days is becoming kind of a challenge, especially if you're going to raise the rates. Because, like, I don't mind paying for all 5 days at the current rate and just using 2, but if you, let's say, double or triple the fees, which I think I would actually support if that was an exchange for, you know, the flexibility and program improvements that we're asking for. So how about some suggestions after the complaints? The first one is, I think we really need to remove the reluctance to breaking kids up into smaller groups. There's a very strong feeling that everybody has to be together in the same physical location. They could be doing different things, but they all have to be in the same location. And that is extremely limiting to what you're going to do with the program. Because, for example, if you want to do the BDW integration, that means taking a group of people to a different place and the other kids, you know, staying in the main hub. And as long as they have that being averse to breaking kids up and having one staff person lead each group, or 2, or however many, that's going to make it really hard to make the kind of improvements that we really need. And in terms of integrating, you know, like, I really would love to see the BDW integration. Just take the kids over, and maybe they could choose to go to the library after, or even some kids could go to the library while other kids are in the class. So you have a group of kids at the class and or the library with 1 or 2 staff. May or may not need to supervise. They could just drop them off, then come back in an hour and bring them back to rec. To me, that's big. And I discussed that with Camille briefly. I just ran into her at one of the concerts, and she said she'd be happy to help with logistics if there's logistical challenges around that. Like, she would be happy to kind of help coordinate, you know, who goes where when, and kind of sharing the schedule. So, I mean, I'll let her speak for herself, of course, but certainly they would be, you know, happy. I'm sure they would be happy to.
As a BDW board member, it's come up many times that we'd like that integration as well. So
Yeah.
it's something that has come up.
And it is, because it is like, even though it's not a city organization, it is like, you know, really an extension of Parks and Rec in a lot of ways. So I'd like to see that support happen. I also think you need to look at incorporating outside specialists to come in and lead specialized activities and not rely on the day-to-day staff to do everything, because, you know, even at $15 an hour, I don't think you're going to be able to find people who are, you know, a yoga teacher or somebody who's got a lot of experience in different extracurricular activities that would really add a lot of quality. I think it's a little too much to ask the staff to, like, come up with all these, like, super enrichment activities without some help.
Can I ask
somebody-
a question about
Yeah,
that?
sure.
If you want, I've just been reading over the materials. I haven't really been involved with the subcommittee that's been dealing with this issue. But having outside specialists come in would be at a greater cost. So are you talking about classes that the parents would sign up and that we just facilitate getting the kids there? Or is this a cost you want the city to absorb on top of the already increased, wage increase?
Well, you could.
Because I would imagine all of this
Yeah, I
drives
mean,
the cost of
something
the
like
program
that
up.
assumes you would have a fee increase of some sort.
Right.
Either you sign up if your kid is interested. If you want to do maximum flexibility, then yes, it would be an extra fee for. And they've played around with that in the past. Like I think they charge a little extra for the little music class and a little extra for the soccer, or maybe the soccer wasn't extra, but the little music class I think it was like $15 extra. Or something.
Yeah, I was just curious as to whether you see it as an aside sign up that kids would be involved in, or whether you want it integrated into the program.
I would do either because my kids would participate no matter what. So I would pay extra whether it's a fee or baked in. I think it may be, if you're thinking about management, from a management perspective, and you need to pay that person regardless of how many people sign up, it might be, wiser to bake it into the core fees and say, you're going to have to pay this person X amount to come in once a week or once a month or however often they do, and then that just gets baked into what the new fees cover, and then you can say we're raising the fees because we're bringing this person in to do X, right? So then it's more palatable to people. Those of whom might be concerned about a fee increase. I'd be concerned about a fee increase without a really concrete plan for what's changing.
Sure.
Even though I'd be willing to pay, I'd be willing to pay more even without changes because I just think it's so cheap. But there are people who,
Yeah,
may not feel that way.
I worry about those who might have,
Right.
a
Or
problem
people with
affording that.
more
Yeah.
financial constraints, and then you definitely need to bring the drop-ins back unless you allow people to sign up a la carte. Because, I think Steve tried to explain that it was too logistically difficult to keep track of different people there on different days. Like, what do you create an activity for every possible combination of days? And my suggestion was that, based on what I know about ActiveNet, you could create 6 activities, one for Monday through Friday, and then one for every Monday, one for every Tuesday, one for every, etc. And each of those would run for a month. So then you would have a roster for each day of the week for that month. So it's not that complicated, I don't think. Excuse me. Yeah, so that's about all I had right now. I think.
Well, thank you very much, Eleanor, for coming down. Some of those things that you discussed, we covered in the meeting. There's also some new thoughts, and so that's very helpful. And did you want to speak as well?
Hi, I'm Becky. I'm new to the school system. My daughter just started kindergarten, so it's just been a couple of weeks, and just trying to figure out the school system and all the activities and all the letters coming every week is just like overwhelming. But after my daughter goes there 5 days because I don't get to work till 6. So one of the concerns that my husband and I have is that she's been constantly getting sunburn because of school. I mean, one things I don't like is the school district have the kids eat outside at the bench. They said they have an option to go in, but as a kindergartner, I mean, I keep telling her, trying to ask the teacher to eat inside, and sometimes it's, they didn't set up the tables, she wants to eat with her friends. I mean, the direct sun, at noontime, it's just a lot of UV. I tried to put sunblock on and gives her, and then the recess time, and then after school program, she's out there, like, playing in the yard for, like, additional, 3-4 hours. It's just too much sun. She's constantly getting sunburn, and I wish there's some activity where they more indoors versus outdoors. So many hours. She pretty much entire day. 8 o'clock, before school starts, half an hour, lunchtime, recess, and after school program. Every time I go there, she comes in, her face is cheeks all red, and sometimes it hurts. So that's concern. I wish that there's more like indoor, activities so they keep them to entertain. Some out, of course, they can go out and play, but in the entire afternoon while waiting for us to pick her up outdoor, it's just too much sun. And the other, when I first went there to pick her up during the first week, it's just like I go there, but then they don't ask me, who are you, who's your kid, and they don't check my ID or anybody. I assume that a lot of kids are older, being there for so many years, the staff recognize the parents, but I just a little bit shocked from sending my kids to preschool and they check, make sure that's your kid and you're the parent, like allowed to pick up. There's on the form that you have to say, oh, these are people allowed to sign up or allowed to pick up, but they don't check and validate you're that person in the beginning. And I assume once we go there often enough that they'll recognize the parents, but at the beginning I just looked shocked. But now, the staff used to seeing my husband and I have, so I guess we're okay with it now, but at the beginning it was just a little bit shocking. Not used to, I know that it's a public school and it's public rec that, we're supposed to go pick up our kids, but as a kindergarten, she's so young, I'm just afraid that, and my daughter, I keep telling her not to talk to strangers, but she just like to chat with everybody. So that's just another concern. And if you ask for suggest for activity, I'm hoping if there was, I know the module is not that big and there's so many kids, if the cafeteria is open, if staff have a skill or something they know, they can, share the kids if they have a foreign language. It's just conversational, not expect them to teach a class, but if they can just have like preschool, teacher knows a foreign language, they sing songs, learn something so that they can pick up and keep them entertained. So that's all I have. And
Thank you.
Well, thanks for coming down and speaking with us, Becky, and thanks to all of you for bringing those comments. If we had a quorum tonight, we would, at the agenda item, we could have a much more robust conversation about some of these suggestions and also some of a large amount of information that I got from both the subcommittee meeting that we held and also Lyle and I did an on-site visit as well in preparation for that. But because we don't have a quorum, we will have to skip all of that. Unfortunately, that's a little bit of lost motion, I'm afraid. But please be aware that we are listening carefully to what you have to say, and we are working on those steps that can be that we can take. There is I've gotten some feedback about what the community is comfortable with in terms of raising fees. We can't really get into that. That'll have to be put off to our next, unfortunately, that'll have to be put off to our next commission meeting. As Stuart mentioned, we have gone to the city council, or rather Stuart went to the city council, staff did, and we did secure an increase in salary, which I think when we examined this problem, that seemed to be a real non-starter. Basically, we're having difficulty hiring people. So I appreciate very much you coming down, and we are paying attention to this and trying to figure out ways that we can improve both the safety, Becky, as your concern was, and also the kinds of activities and experience that our children have in this after-school program. So thank you for coming down. Moving on, we can't approve the minutes. We can't do old business, new business. I was wondering, since two of the two subcommittees from Day in the Park are here, and Day in the Park happens before our next commission meeting, I know personally I would, and maybe the few people who watch these meetings might like to just be caught up on what's going to happen. Did you want to make a report?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you, Bonnie.
We met and we planned the dog costume, the pie eating. They were talking about a 3-legged race. They were talking about bounce houses and all that. And we're hoping to have food trucks.
Mm-hmm.
That would be nice to have that. So
We have secured 5 food trucks.
yeah, we have 5
Oh,
food
excellent.
trucks.
Yes.
Excellent.
A really good lineup too.
That's
Good.
to it. And the pie eating contest was such a hit last year.
It was.
It
The
was-
guy that won it wanted another pie.
Yeah, so I'm glad to
As
hear
the
that that's
dog
coming back.
contest was.
And the dog, those were both new initiatives last
They-
year, right?
And they were very
They
popular.
were very popular, so I'm glad they're coming back.
Yeah,
Yes.
so I think that's about it, isn't
That's it. We discussed the layout a bit, a little bit of a change.
it? A little change, and they're supposed to put a gate in
Yes, putting a
to
gate
get
in.
from County Road into the park. So
Right.
they didn't have to go all the way around like this to be in the park.
Right.
So it would make it easier, and they're supposed to do that. Public Works said they would do it.
And we'll have the wine and beer booths again with the engraved glasses.
Yes, exactly.
And we have a local brewery coming in that will also have a booth. So it's shaping up, and we'll have a band in the afternoon, and the name escapes me right now, but it's one of the bands we know we know
used
from
before.
previous years at Day in the Park. So I
Right.
mean at Music in the Park, concerts in the park.
Right.
And Volunteer of the Year award, which is under
Yes,
wraps.
I was going to ask about that tonight because I hadn't heard anything.
It's under wraps. You have to.
But it is going on.
You have to. Yeah, it is going on. You have to wait and go
Of course
there
it is.
when the envelope is handed and the moment happens.
And who is doing the presentation for that?
Who does the presentation?
We usually try and get the mayor to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, that seems appropriate.
If not, we'll get the Parks and Recreation.
Renee does a really good job. Hopefully she'll do it again.
She's good at it. Yeah.
Yes, she's very good at it.
And Bonnie and I will be judging the dog costume and the pie eating contests
Yes,
again
we
this
will.
year.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay, I thought we also might just look at setting subcommittee meetings. The only one that we can, that I would like to set, and that we can set because both of you are here, is a Concerts in the Park. I think we should do now a postmortem.
Yes.
And maybe even invite members of the community.
Sure.
I think it was really successful.
Yeah, the word post-mortem means it's dead.
Oh, what's the word I'm supposed to use?
I'm not sure, but I'm
Post-mortem.
we didn't mean to kill it, did we?
No, we
No.
gave it life this
It's
year.
That's
very
what I
much
thought.
alive.
It was very good.
There's another term for it. What is it?
Wrap up.
Wrap up, whatever.
Wrap up.
Okay.
I was just.
But I
you
think
just
that-
amused me when you said postmortem. I apologize.
It didn't die.
No, it didn't die. It was. I thought that by and large it was very successful, and we added one additional item at the request of some of the donors, and that also turned out to be very successful. So, I think if we kind of wrap it up, get some feedback from them, and then maybe begin the process even of which bands we might want to return.
Yep.
Right.
And I think that's a good idea. So,
What bands we don't want to return.
what bands were?
It's always more positive to say which ones you do want to return, and we'll
Yes.
just take it to mean those who you didn't want to return won't.
Right.
So did we want to put a date on the calendar?
Yes, let's do that.
What works for you?
I'm always open, so it's really Teresa.
Well, I have a Day in the Park subcommittee meeting already scheduled for Wednesday, the 27th.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't mind stacking another one right after that. That's at 5:30.
Mhm.
I could possibly do a 4:30, 4:45, or do one right after that if that would work.
Where the concerts in the park.
Correct.
That would work for me.
Yeah.
Before or after?
I'm open to either, whatever.
How much time do we need?
Well, if we're going to invite the public.
Yeah, if we're going to invite the public, it
It'll
might be
need-
a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So I would say allow an hour, but I don't think it'll take that long.
6:30?
Sure.
Or
Yeah, that would
or
work.
beforehand?
No,
or
6:30 is great.
Wednesday, what time? The 27th.
The 27th, so we're saying 6:30?
And we're also supposed to do Day in the Park.
Oh, Day in the Park is 5:30.
Okay.
So then we can do a 6:30?
Okay.
And then there is another subcommittee that we could have, which is teen services. That's you and me. And was an item on our agenda tonight that we didn't get to. I'm wondering if we want to maybe tease that out in a subcommittee meeting, or do we just want to wait until the next commission?
What was the item that needed to be teased out?
It has to do with people applying for the YAC
Oh, right.
at Littman, and some of the students at Littman are not from Brisbane, and there
Right.
is some
Right.
confusion about.
Yes, Stuart and I had a
I've had that
discussion about
conversation.
that,
I've had
yeah.
conversations with Stuart, and I've had conversations with the community. We need to have some format where we kind of hash it out and decide what our recommendation is. Do you want to do that in a subcommittee meeting, and then we would recommend it to the commission as a whole at the next commission meeting? Or
I think it's a good idea that we kind of meet and we're all of same mind, or if we're of different mind, that's fine, but we need to kind of see where we are and before we bring it to the commission. I think that's always a good idea.
Okay, so then, and it's just you and I on that.
Okay.
And so what's a good time for you?
Okay. You throw this one out and I'll see if I'm free. What was
Well, how about,
I mean, if you want to stack another meeting after that one, but I don't know, it's probably getting, oh no, it's
I'll get a little
Wednesday
bleary-eyed.
night, so.
Yeah, I'll get a little bleary-eyed. How about the following Wednesday?
The 4th?
Are Wednesdays good for you? What's
Yeah, Wednesday's good.
the following Wednesday's the 4th?
Okay,
And this would be with Ricardo.
right.
And what's the,
The 4th is the State of the City, if I'm not mistaken,
oh, what time is that?
at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, I want to go to that. Let's not do that. How about Tuesday the 3rd?
Tuesdays, yeah, I can do that if it's,
What time?
5:30 maybe.
How is that for staff? You're staying later. 5:30?
It's Ricardo. It's perfectly fine.
And this is teen services?
That's why we don't see him.
So are
Well,
we
it's
talking,
7 now, so that's the problem.
are we talking the 3rd or,
We're talking the 3rd, yes.
okay.
At 5:30. Okay, and let me just look at the subcommittee list. Is there anything else that needs to meet? Concert in the Park events, Festival of Lights is not going to gear up until
Maureen's back.
Maureen's back.
When's she due back?
Okay. Public art, we don't really have anything
No, we don't have
going there.
anything.
Recreational programs, recreational facilities, seniors, we're fine on seniors,
Yeah.
right? Teen services, we've talked about trail development, trail master plan, so I don't think there's anything else that we have to arrange, or did I miss something, Stuart?
Saturday is lagoon cleanup
Yeah. And
under
one
restoration.
last item before we adjourn. Let's see, have I covered everything?
I was going to report out one thing from the last council meeting.
Okay, okay, go
You
ahead.
Go
yes.
first. For yours is way more important.
It's not way more important, but since Bonnie just brought that up, we do have coastal cleanup this Saturday from 10 till 1, I believe it is,
Okay.
out at the Brisbane Lagoon. So everybody's supposed to meet out at Fisherman's Park. And also on Saturday, we have the dive-in movie at the pool. That starts at 7:30, and we're showing Little Mermaid. So hopefully we'll get a bunch of people out there for that.
Fun.
But those are the only two things I can think of for right now.
Okay. Stuart?
And at the last council meeting, in addition to increasing recreation leaders to $15 an hour, they also approved the memorial bench plaque policy
Oh, wow.
that you had put forward back in December
With no amendments.
with no amendments.
Okay, well, thank you for that. I did have one last comment. I neglected at the last meeting to thank Stuart for stepping in for these couple of meetings. It skipped my mind, but it's always great to have Stuart at the helm to guide us and keep us from falling off the rails, and we really appreciate it, Stuart. So thank you. Are there any other commissioner items?
I think so.
I'm kind of going a little out of
Oh.
order here.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are we getting any applications in for the open seats come January?
You know, there was applications for the open seat that we already had. I think there was, if I'm not mistaken, there may have been 3. The city council is working on scheduling a meeting to review, but I think they're challenged with trying to fit all of the other meetings that they have to do.
So when you say the seat that was already open, you mean for David's seat?
Yes.
But didn't we decide to hold off on all of that until January?
Well,
since
it's up
there's
to the
so much
council as to
done?
when they appoint.
Okay.
But I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. I know they discussed it at their last meeting, but it was also at 11 o'clock at night.
My recollection is they did put a date on the calendar.
I thought they did.
watched a
I thought it was
little bit of
sometime in
was
October.
Late at night, but I watched it the next day.
I thought it was sometime in October that they put a
Yeah,
date to
it's in
appoint
October.
that one, and then when the new council sits, they'll probably open up for those positions that are open, that are coming due.
Yeah. Okay, anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, then this meeting is adjourned at 7:05.
Fastest
All of
meeting on
this
the
will be
planet.
on the next meeting.
Yep.